What if I told you there's a secret blueprint? A blueprint that when followed can take anyone from a mediocre life to a life of wealth. And all you need for this to succeed is your mind. I read a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And in this video, I'll break down the exact steps of this blueprint that the rich follow to get rich and stay rich. Make sure you watch till the end because secret number 11 and 13 are what I've personally used to increase my net worth. In this video, we're gonna follow the story of two brothers, Mark and David. They both had the same upbringing but ended up with very different lives. Mark, a successful entrepreneur, retired early with a paid-off house and several businesses. David, on the other hand, was still working in a job he didn't like with an expensive house and a mortgage. He was unhappy with his life. How did they end up so different? Mark took responsibility of his own life and created his own future, a planned early retirement, whereas David was always quick to blame others, his wife, his co-workers, the government. And this is secret number 1. Rich people believe I create my own life. Poor people believe life happens to me. Secret number 2. Rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play not to lose. Mark had a clear vision of what he wanted to accomplish early in his life. He had a plan about what his ideal life would look like, and he wrote down the steps that he needed to follow to make that happen. He took calculated risks along his journey. He was passionate about studying finance and investing and decided to invest some of his savings in an energy company. He did his research, he studied the market, and he took a risk by investing when this company was small. When the company went public, Mark made a huge profit. When David was approached by Mark about this opportunity, he decided to ignore it. David believed he should be investing in the big companies like everybody else. He followed the crowd without doing any research, and he missed out on the opportunity when the small company went public. Secret number 3. Rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people want to be rich. Like most people, David wanted to be rich. He thought he would get a job, work hard at it, get promoted, and move up in his career. That's how he would get rich. He also played the lottery every month, believing this was the kind of gambling he needed to become rich. Mark, on the other hand, followed his plan. He realized his 9-to-5 job was not going to make him rich. He studied the people around him who were wealthy and soon realized many of them were business owners who worked for themselves. He realized he needed to do the same. Mark tried a few business ideas that failed until his big idea of a snow removal and landscaping company helped him become rich. Mark was committed to being rich and kept going despite failures. Secret number 4. Rich people think big, poor people think small. At family dinners, Mark would often discuss his different business ideas that he was interested in and wanted to try. David, on the other hand, always reluctant to take risks, warned Mark about the possibility of failure. David was convinced the safe route was working a job and moving on up the corporate ladder. He kept scaring Mark through horror stories about other people who had failed and gave excuses how there was not enough time in their lives to pursue a business. After all, they worked hard and should enjoy their lives as well in their free time. David was thinking small, whereas Mark thought big. Secret number 5. Rich people focus on opportunity. Poor people focus on obstacles. Since David always looked at the risks and the challenges at every opportunity, he never really pursued anything risky. He focused on the obstacles. Mark, on the other hand, looked at life as a game. The more challenges that came his way, the more difficult the level of the game got, and he was determined to level up and win the game. Secret number 6. Rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent rich and successful people. Both brothers were passed on for promotions at their respective jobs. David became negative and jealous of the person who got promoted over him. He blamed his boss, he blamed office politics, and he started to resent management at his company. When Mark got passed on for a promotion, he spent the weekend at a masterclass for entrepreneurs. He networked with other like-minded people and decided to focus on creating his businesses. Instead of waiting for his job to give him that opportunity, Mark was hungry and wanted to learn from other successful entrepreneurs at this event. because he was confident if they could work for themselves, then he could learn from them and figure it out for himself too. Secret number 7. Rich people associate with positive, successful people. Poor people associate with negative or unsuccessful people. Continuing our story from the previous lesson, Mark connected with a few people at his mastermind event. They formed an informal club and met monthly to share their stories in their entrepreneurship journey, to celebrate their successes and help motivate each other. David, on the other hand, still hung out with his friends from his childhood who weren't doing much with their lives. They loved to drink and party, but not much else. Secret number 8. Rich people are willing to promote themselves and their value. Poor people think negatively about selling and promotion. When Mark was starting his landscaping and snow removal business, he went knocking on doors during his free time on weekends. David initially joined him to help out his brother, but dropped out because he thought it was too embarrassing and he was afraid of rejection. He didn't want to bother people while knocking on their doors. Mark kept door knocking on weekends for several months to promote him and his business, and he eventually made a long list of clients. He also created a website and a YouTube channel to help promote his brand and his business. Mark understood the value of self-promoting himself and his brand, which would help take his business to the next level. Secret number 9. Rich people are bigger than their problems. Poor people are smaller than their problems. We already talked about how Mark looked at life like a video game. He loved challenges that came his way and liked to come up with creative solutions to solve them. When the pandemic hit, Mark faced a major setback. Him and his team could not go door knocking to obtain additional customers. Mark decided to not let this challenge hold him down. He pivoted to social media and targeted potential customers in his area through online ads and offered consultations virtually. Mark rose to the occasion and proved that he was bigger than his problems, and he was not going to let them hold him back. Secret number 10. Rich people are excellent receivers. Poor people are poor receivers. If you're wondering what this means, let me explain. When David got a smaller bonus than expected at his job, he let his boss know he was upset and how it was unfair. He completely ignored the feedback he received, which actually included the steps he could take to get better at his job and in return, get a bigger bonus. Mark, on the other hand, always seeked out feedback from his masterclass group about how he could get better. He went above and beyond for his customers. He even took their complaints and feedback seriously and used it to improve the services he offered through his business. Secret number 11. Rich people choose to get paid based on results. Poor people choose to get paid based on time. When Mark's business was booming, he offered David the opportunity to learn from him so he could start something of his own. He was making more money than he did ever at his full-time job. David saw that Mark was working around the clock and sometimes even on weekends. He rejected Mark's idea, thinking he would get rich by getting promoted and moving up at his 9-to-5 job. David was happy with trading his time for money and didn't see the potential in starting his own business. Secret number 12. Rich people think both. Poor people think either or. I know this one sounds confusing, but it's really simple. The limiting mindset poor people have leads them to believe that they have to choose between things, whereas the rich think they can have their cake and eat it too. When they were kids, Mark and David's parents donated to charity and taught them to do the same. When they grew up, David believed he could only donate a certain amount to charity because any more would lessen what he had for himself to live his life. Mark believed he could continue to help others by donating and tried to increase the amount he donated every year by small increments. Mark knew the system and methods he had in place would slowly increase his net worth. Through this, he could afford to be rich and give back even more to help others out. Secret number 13. Rich people focus on their net worth. Poor people focus on their working income. When Mark was building his businesses, he was often passed up for promotions because instead of working extra in his office job, he chose to spend it building his own businesses. There was a period of time in their lives where David's salary was much higher than Mark's, but Mark didn't care. He knew when his business took off, it would eventually pay him more and increase his net worth significantly. He focused on his net worth, David focused on his salary. Secret number 14. Rich people manage their money well, poor people mismanage their money well. During his journey to early retirement, Mark kept a budget. He knew where every dollar was going. He knew how much he was saving, where he could cut his spending, and he knew what to do with extra money every month. Hint, he invested it. If you hadn't guessed, David spent first and checked his bank accounts later. He was often in credit card debt and complaining that he was never making enough money, and as usual, he was blaming others, his boss, the government for taxing him so much, his wife for spending his money buying too many shoes. David did not budget and lived his life in the moment. I wonder why he was so unhappy. Secret number 15. Rich people have their money work hard for them. Poor people work hard for their money. If you've been following all along, let me tell you a secret. Mark was actually inherently lazy. The reason he set up his life the way he did was because he didn't want to work hard the rest of his life. Instead, through his businesses and investments and living below his means, he made his money work for him so he could take it easy and retire early. Unlike David and most other people who work hard until they're old and then take traditional retirements in their 60s and 70s. Secret number 16. Rich people act in spite of fear. Poor people let fear stop them. Mark attempted to start several businesses during his life, and many of them failed. But he simply viewed this as part of the process. He kept going, knowing that the next plan around the corner would work, and it eventually did. David never attempted to take risks because his long list of fears and excuses was too high. He played it safe and never stepped outside his comfort zone. Secret number 17. Rich people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know. Mark's personality reflected his mindset. He was a lifelong learner who, even after becoming rich, sought new ways he could use to maintain his wealth and increase it. David, on the other hand, felt like he knew better than most people. He had nothing new to learn from them, and after all, he had gone through school and college, and that had taught him all he needed to know. There you have it, folks. 17 secrets that separate the rich mindset from the poor mindset. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.